Hello, guys and gals, me, Mutahar, and what about jail, okay? You guys think you should go to prison for selling Pokemon on the black market? If your answer is yeah, Muta, I think so. Well, congratulations, you and the Japanese have a lot in common. Now, this is something that I read a day ago that had me kind of laughing, but I wanted to talk about it because as somebody that's getting back into like MMOs, I want to just remind people that one of the big type of game genres that I did play were MMOs, and not all of them were stuff like World of Warcraft. A lot of it was like playing games that were like those free-to-play Korean-based MMOs, where a lot of the stuff we'll be talking about today, gold farming, black markets, were pretty much a commonality. So again, about a day ago, what happened was a 36-year-old guy in Kyoto Prefecture was apparently arrested, okay? Because they were violating the anti-competition law in Japan. So for anybody that doesn't know this law, it's the Unfair Competition Prevention Act, okay? And I'm not going to pretend to be a Japanese lawyer, but again, this is the law that was being violated. And just a quick outline was it regulates infringement of trade secrets, unfair usage of a well-known sign, but what's important here is imitation of the configuration of a third party's product, okay? Now, that sounds vague enough. I'm just gonna like lay it out for the gamers here, okay? Modding your save files, hacking your games, online that is. So again, when looking into it, what had actually happened was they arrested an individual, and what they had found was they used a tool all the way from December to March last year on the Nintendo Switch. And the game that they were targeting was Pokemon Violet, okay? So again, if you don't know, Pokemon Violet's like the last big Pokemon game that came out. And they were basically tampering and selling Pokemons, all right? They were selling Pokemons on the internet. Black market hacked Pokemans. And of course, the way that they wrote it is that you could apparently go on the internet and order them for like 4,000 something yen. And what it apparently, and this is again a machine translation, I found it for sale on a police cyber patrol and arrested it for 9 days. Now again, I would like to say that this is probably the most wasteful use of police investigation resources I might have ever seen in the year 2024, but hey, I'll be shocked to, to be fair, I don't know, I guess it ain't that shocking, alright? The world's a weird goddamn place. But effectively what had happened was the person responded to the law enforcement agencies and said, bro, I was literally just trying to live. I was trying to pay for rent. You know how bad inflation is these days? I gotta pimp out Pokemon pussy to make my fucking rent payments in Japan, dude. That's how things ended up coming out to. So of course, ladies and gentlemen, this brought me down into actually like looking into the Pokemon black market. And of course, all it takes is one Google search on the internet. I'm not even joking. Buy Pokemon, okay? And bam, right over here, you basically get all the sponsored Google advertisements of purchasing, again, black market Pokemon. You get all of that before the actual Pokemon.com website. So I went to one of these sites over here, and you might be wondering, Muta, how much does a Pokemon cost these days? Well, if you go look up a good old fire type, you can see that the average price of a Pokemon is 65 cents, alright? So you're not even crossing the tax threshold. It even got a 5.0 rating on good old Trustpilot. And again, by saying all these ratings, man, they seem to have only gotten 5-star ratings. That's a little sussy-wussy, personally. I love this review right here. Thank you, Ayla. She was extremely friendly, polite, quick, efficient, and she was very knowledgeable. Dog brought out the whole thesaurus to thank this person for a goddamn Entei. I was skeptical, but went ahead and tried it. I spent $13 on several shinies and legendaries. It went smooth and really worked. I only wish I would have paid more attention and gotten lower levels of some. I worked with Ayla and she was great. Definitely recommend. I love how a lot of these reviews ended up coming out April 10th, some on April 11th. Man, it's there's a lot of 5-star reviews. Nobody is dissatisfied with anything. It's kind of crazy. Now, when you look at some of the more expansive stuff, you can see that you can buy bundles. You want Ditto bundles? You get them for 13 bucks. Mythicals, Pikachu in a cap, $4.16. Scrotum bundles? Well, go crazy. Now, of course, I never had to realize that, at some point in my life, I was going to be looking at Pokemon black markets. We're literally selling digital life for pennies on the dollar. So of course there's other sites. This one's sponsored by fucking Google, apparently in their ad system, 6kgold.com. Now if you're like a WoW player, you probably have a little bit of a PTSD looking at this, but let's dive into this situation. So of course if you look at the Pokemon list, they're all competitively priced. Okay, you want Ho-Oh? 79 cents. 79 cents. You want 120 Teal Mask SV Pokemon? $10. So it's not exactly the most expensive route to go down into. It really seems like everyone in this market is mostly trading on volume if they're about to make crazy profits. And to be fair, the amount of work involved doing this is absolutely minimal if you're earning 80 cents for each Pokemon. Even this site right over here, dude, like Pokestar, and they got Trustpilot reviews. Hard bet that these are, man, look at that, dude. Look at all that. It's always they got 5-star reviews and never the 2 or 1 stars. I want to see the 1 star actually. Got absolutely scammed, terrible customer service. Literally called me a liar, even with me having video proof of them canceling the trade and claiming it went through. Jesus Christ, these people. Now again, I don't know about that slander right now because they're selling Iron Crowns for $5. So if you're somebody that's in the market of Pokemon shiny hunting and you don't want to put in the hours it takes to reset your Switch or whatever console to get that shiny, apparently purchasing them is a very viable option. But if you're somebody selling these Pokemon, well, if you live in Japan, prepare not to engage. It's even wild when you look at other places like Poke Factory. Dog, everyone puts a discount. And the discounts are crazy. These people are selling Pokemans for €3, dude. That's not cheap whatsoever. I mean, we've got Pokemons on sales. So when I was looking into it, it brought me back to a time capsule when, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna flashbang some of the people watching here with an Action Replay Max, okay? Now, if you know this, if you know what this is kind of like a cheating device in the sense that Game Genies were a thing back in the day. What they would basically do is they would release a cartridge, a DS cartridge that you could plug into a Nintendo DS. You put your game on top of it, kind of like a weird Sega 32X thing going on. You fire it up, and what this did was allow you to modify the memory of the game running. So, for instance, I ended up having one of these, not for actually hacking Pokemon, but actually to mod in mystery events. So back in the DS, there were like 3 mystery events: the Arceus, the Darkrai, and the Shaman event. And instead of going, I believe it was all the way down to Florida, like they had a Pokemon Center, like a Nintendo event place where you actually go and you give them your DS or you download the event, the mystery gift, through like their Wi-Fi service. This was available, like this was what you had to do in order to get it at your house. And I ended up having to pick this one up on a sale way back in the day. It was like $30, and basically I could mod in whatever I wanted. And this device was so legendary to a lot of other Pokemon fans living around me that I used to use this, and I probably shouldn't be saying this because Nintendo is probably going to be pretty mad, is I used to actually modify Pokemon and just give them for free. I was doing $1 a Pokemon service for free back in the day when kids were really excited about getting access to their Pokemons. Now, of course, even back in the DS days, if you had like a R4 card, you could extract your save file from the Pokemon games back to your computer, and you use tools like PokeSav. Again, I'm flashbanging a lot of Pokemon gamers, like especially from back in the day, with a lot of hardcore nostalgia, because god damn, you actually just dropped in your save file and you can modify whatever Pokemon in your party or boxes that you had to create actual Pokemon that you could just gift and trade or sell, I guess, on the internet. And that's why doing this stuff is so absolutely easy. The person that ended up being arrested in our story literally would be at their house modding Pokemon in, and again, while they were playing the Switch version of the game, save editing and memory manipulation and cheats don't exactly change that drastically over time. What they would do is just mod in Pokemon and trade them to people on the internet. And again, according to Japanese law enforcement, what was wild about this was apparently these sales, and I don't know if this is specifically regarding in this case, they were making millions of yens apparently. The special tool used in this case, you can download it for free on the internet, and you don't have to have professional knowledge or skills to modify save data. And the tool that the guy used was literally PKHex, completely freely available that you can use to modify, add mystery gifts, and literally create Pokemons. It was even back in the day when I was playing around with the action replay that literally modding in certain Pokemon would, again, they would add checks and balances to the global server to prevent you from like bringing like a level 100 Pichu with like absolute blasted stats to wipe the entire competitive floor with. But during the DS era, when this really started kicking in and they actually had an online service, it was pretty like free game for people operating. And obviously in the Switch era, you can get banned for basically doing it. And you probably most likely should. Should you get arrested for selling black market Pokemon? I don't really know, but it poses an interesting question down over here. Because honestly, when it comes to online gaming, there are literally so many black markets that it's gonna blow your head when we talk about it. So for instance, this is a gold trading service for World of Warcraft, okay? So under 2 hours, what they effectively will do is you go over here and you select a bunch of gold that you want. So you can go all the way from 1.8 million gold all the way down to 10 million. And if you go get 10 million, they give you like a 6% bonus, but they also give you $609. They offer, not, well, they don't give it to you, but you have to pay them $600 for that money in gold, okay? Now, of course, World of Warcraft gold or any MMO gold is again a currency that you earn in an online multiplayer game. So looking at Final Fantasy Gil, for instance. Here you can even purchase Gil, which is the equivalent currency for, again, World of Warcraft, and about 1 billion Gil to become a Final Fantasy billionaire. Takes $940 from your mom's credit card to get you there, okay? Now, what this has basically done for online gaming is actually inflate the online economy. Yes, there is an entire market of this kind of stuff that actually ends up breaking online MMOs to no end. So this is like an actual investigation from back in 2006 where they talk about China's full-time computer gamers. So BBC actually looked into this market and they estimated that it was at the time, this is remember 2006, it's only grown since then. The market for gold farming or virtual game items was 900 million US dollars, okay? That was literally, in today's money, that's, I believe, well over $1 billion. So it was a huge industry back then. Huge enough that what happened was China was actually accused by publications for using forced prison labor. Now again, this is a Guardian post from 12 years ago where they talk about China using prisoners for internet gaming work. You know, it's not just they're out there making shit and sending it over to the world. It's them literally invading the game with these poor prisoners. Some of them probably beaten silly to do this, to literally farm for gold in an online marketplace. Imagine sitting in a warm goddamn room, computers that never go off, sitting there farming gold on World of Warcraft. Boy, that is a fate worse than dying, some would say. So here they say that the guy that they were talking to, Lou, is one of the prisoners forced to play online games and build up credits. And then the prison guards would then take those credits, that gold, and sell it on like these online storefronts, like we just saw with Final Fantasy and World of War, okay? So effectively what it kind of came down over here is they worked 12-hour shifts in a camp, and apparently they could earn $470 to $570 or euros a day. And again, these guys, obviously the prisoners, allegedly never saw a single dime of that. If I couldn't complete my work quota, they would punish me physically. They would make me stand with my hands raised in the air, and after I returned to the dormitory, they would beat me with plastic pipes. We kept playing until we could barely see things. I mean, it literally is like straight up torturing somebody and forcing them to actually farm gold. This is legit full-on fucking slave labor. And the idea of gold farming or doing this is, it's not a fun activity, obviously. What you do for gold and like item farming is you're literally doing the most mundane tasks in the game. There are people that are out there literally doing coal farming or farming in a game, basic bullshit bitch tasks in order to raise a crap ton of money so that these guys can sell it on online storefronts. And you might be wondering, but Muda, does World of Warcraft, does Square allow this? And from my understanding, reading through their TOS services, they actually don't really care about any of that. Now, obviously, gold farming is not going to be available in any online TOS for any game simply because of the abusiveness that can come to the free markets in the game. But of course, in my time watching and looking over these MMO games, I barely, in my opinion, see this enforced to the level that it should be. Even if it is actually impacting real people, at least from a physical perspective, the people that are apparently forced to farm for this stuff. That said, it's just an industry that has forever existed on the sidelines, and it's never going to stop because of how large it is, and because of how different and difficult it can be between games to properly counteract this in terms of scanning for gold laundering and whatnot. Now, there are entire teams that you could hire to do gold financial transaction tracing if you were running these games, but that is a money investment I don't think any company wants to pull in. It's also hard to, shit on the buyers for these products because you can never really confirm if money was traded back and forth by accident or if it was deliberately engaging in these gold trading schemes, unless you were willing to pony up the cash and time to investigate each case. So obviously, all these companies can really do is go after the buyers, but given how some of these buyers have been alive longer than I've been making YouTube videos, it's safe to say that most online companies probably don't give a shit. And again, this isn't just an MMO thing as well, too. You've got entire markets in regards to online first-person shooter games that have gun skins, games like Counter-Strike 2, or used to be Global Offensive, where gun skins are being sold from pennies on the dollar to thousands of dollars. They're engaged in a weird third-party gambling denizen, like slot machine roulette simulator in certain times, where, again, people use this as sort of like a third-party currency. And this is not a small market either. According to the skin investigation market, it's also worth billions of dollars too. So you've got an entire industry that is ultimately a black market for gaming. And it's not a small black market, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions today. And unfortunately, in some parts of the world, specifically for MMOs, it seems like slave labor might actually be a complete fucking reality. And the impact this stuff has, just to extrapolate it for online games, is obviously when you have people farming for gold, it inflates the economy so bad that if you play an MMO game and you engage in third-party marketplace work, you'll soon find that your efforts mean very little when somebody in China can literally dilute the market with hundreds of rares item, meaning that your potential to make, say, $1,000 worth of gold suddenly becomes $100 worth of gold because the market is diluted by actual slavers. It's such a weird thing, and I wish like more economists on YouTube started to sit down and actually look at the impact of in-game economies when you actually have people from the macro levels, like these gold farmers, to the very minuscule levels, like Pokémon traders, engaging. You literally have an entire market where there is no actual like authority. There is no actual like ruling. There is no fair play. You're literally in a market where you're engaging with the most legit of players with the most illegitimate types. But yeah, to whittle this on back to where we started with, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, a man in Japan has actually been arrested, and they may face a few years in prison. And again, the last country I would even decide to fuck with Nintendo on is their home turf in Japan. So again, I want to ask you what you think about this, and honestly, what you think about the black markets of gaming. I think it's a really interesting place, and honestly, I would like to probably make an even more deeper, maybe like an hour-long video, where I go through more of the history of this too, because I really do consider it to be a very interesting thing. I look at a lot of stuff like crypto scammers, but looking into this market, which is, I guess, semi-legit, if not in a third-party sense, is quite interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.